Oh, it didn't even play it.
The intro didn't play.
I was so busy telling you that whole story.
Oh.
Ben, we're live. Thanks. I'll play it. Let me see how I do this. I don't know. There's an intro with a countdown. Let's just do it. We're done. Whatever. There's no intro. Go see another video if you want to see an intro. Ron's already laughing at us in the chat. We're just a hot mess now. Hello. Hi, friend. See what happens? This is what happens. I was telling you a great story, and I should have been getting my shit together.
Yeah, we had a conversation totally off topic there.
Totally off topic, but tasty nonetheless. Hi, friend. Okay, so I guess we do need to tell everybody who we are and all that stuff. Intro, yay. Hi, I'm Molly Sleuth. I am from the hellhole known as Los Angeles. I'm now comfortably living in the Midwest near my friend, Chris Leland, and where I work and pay taxes. It's really fun. I highly recommend it. Chris, another person that's just as excited about taxes as I am. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Chris Leland. I'm a lifelong Michigander. I was a roofer for many years, and now I just kind of do any little menial task that'll pay. Kind of a jack of all trades, and you know how that goes, I guess. But here to offer my opinion.
Yay! And double yay. What show even is this? Listen.
This is one about chemtrails. It's supposed to be.
The chat is just already out of control. I need to check out the YouTube chat as well. Good gravy. Okay. All right. We're somewhat under control. We do have a special guest tonight, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to be talking about airplanes. It's a bird. It's a plane. What the fuck is that up in the sky? Egyptian planes. I'm talking about the whole Charlie Kirk situation, and talking about chemtrails, of course. But also, I have kind of a hot take on Mitch Snow. Do you know who he is? The witness that Candace Owens brought forward that saw Erica Kirk. Well, I don't think our guest tonight knows who he is, so I'll just break it down. We'll wait for him, or we'll do it later, and we'll break it down, because I have a little bit of a hot take on Mitch Snow that I haven't heard from anywhere else, which really surprises me, because there's a lot of independent fact gatherers out there that were supposedly not slurping the goo, but yet they're believing this one tidbit from him that I feel is very interesting. So I want to talk about that. Okay, but let's start with this climate change bullshit. So you are from here. Clearly, I'm not. Anything over or under 60 degrees is like deadly to me. Like, I have a heater on me right now. So tell me about Michigan winters, and have they been changing, or like, what do you see?
Well, I'd say in childhood memory, it seems like there was a lot more snow, and it was more frequent, and there more fell, I would say. I think our snowfall is less than it was even when I was a child. So I'll say that. I don't know if that's global warming or just, whatever you want to call it. But I would say the snowfall has decreased a little bit since I was younger. I do believe that.
Are you saying that global warming is real?
Well, yeah, it is, because it's been happening for eons. But however, man-made climate change is another topic. I do believe in that. It's called chemtrails. And, I don't know if exhaust from cars and buses and all that is necessarily changing the atmosphere, but I can tell you all the stuff they're spraying on us definitely is. It's changed the pH level in the soil and all the groundwater or surface water, major lakes, stuff like that.
I mean, well, there have been ice core samples taken from the North Pole, and there are vanilla beans and palm fronds in these ice core samples. So obviously at some point that was a pretty tropical climate up there.
Yeah.
And Rod's saying it felt like summer here today. He's down in Texas, and we got Super Biatch dancing in the chat with our emotes. And Circle of One says it has to stay 72 a year round or it's man-made. Oh, hey, there I am. So yeah, I mean, when I first got to Michigan was like 5 years ago, and we had that polar vortex, and I drive like a 2-seater hot rod with a rear wheel drive, which was really fun, sliding all over the place. I now have like a bunch of bullshit in it, and you told me to get kitty litter. I should put that on the list. Let me put that on the list for this weekend. Because now it's full of pots and pans or whatever the fuck I have in there.
Anything heavy.
Anything.
Yeah.
Dead bodies. And kitty litter. There we go.
I don't recommend the dead bodies. It's really hard to clean that smell out.
Yeah, it also gets really stinky. In fact, there's that wrapper that has the dead body in the car that was found at the Hollywood Tow. You know that Randy worked there.
Yeah, he kind of
at Hollywood Tow. We'll have to ask him about it. What's the ins and outs? Did Randy do it? No, he wasn't working there when they found the car. Thank you. My best friend did not kill some little girl. He was convicted of other felonies. Expunged, though. So get over it. Perfect alibi. Yeah, it wasn't him. Thanks. We're on to other conspiracy theories. Okay, so with chemtrails, like, the weather was always really shitty in LA. Like, the sky was always disgusting. I mean, you just have millions of people and, you know, there's no cow farts, but apparently somehow there's still smog. And I was working LAPD Vice at the time, and I was working with a guy who was really being into, hey, Red Bike, you're not late. I was working with a guy, we were undercover, and this guy was like very into like eating raw buffalo and CrossFit and like all this stuff that's like now pretty like normal, but it was so like weird to, like, you're eating a buffalo? Like, when are you eating a buffalo? And he would look up in the sky and see the chemtrails in LA. And I never really noticed them, I guess, before that. And he was like, ugh, it's going to be a terrible day. I'm going to have headaches. And I'm like, oh my God, you're doing such a whiner. Like, you're not going to have headaches. Like, this is totally psychosomatic. And I remember just thinking like how odd he was for even noticing the chemtrails. Because although my dad was a pilot, I don't pay any fucking attention to planes up in the sky.
I feel like the chemtrail, at least around here, because they've been doing it since the 60s on smaller scale, but I think the large scale stuff kind of happened after 2001. I think that's when they really stepped it up and started doing all across the nation. They've been hitting us pretty hard for about 24, 25 years now.
And you think that's the push for climate change and climate taxes and all that stuff?
I have tried to look this up, and maybe somebody that's watching this or is in the chat can find it, but there was a video from PBS that talked about the period of time when airplanes were all grounded in the United States because of 9/11, right? Remember that? The couple of days after 9/11, all planes were grounded, so there was no air traffic over the U.S. at all. And then, according to this study, there was a micro spike in temperature because there was the lack of jet exhaust. And so they were making an argument for this geoengineering, stratospheric injection of, the chemicals and stuff. So they have been putting this out in front of people for a long time. In fact, there was open meetings in the UN in the late 90s, early 2000s, how they talked about the efficacy of doing this, how they were going to do it. Every open meetings that you can go listen to, they're 3 hours long, very boring and procedural, but they'll talk about it. So it's been out there. They've been talking about doing it. There's hundreds of patents on dispersal method and chemical compounds and how to spray it. So it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I didn't notice it at first, but after a while, because I was a roofer, I had to pay attention to the sky. I knew when I saw cumulus clouds or cirrus clouds in a certain formation that bad weather was on its way. Yet I'm literally, you will get to learn this stuff. And it was, it mattered a lot. I needed to make sure I didn't get caught by bad weather. Yeah. Somebody's roof wide open. So it was important. Just like the farmers and everybody else who look at the sky and routinely, pay attention to the weather in a way that a lot of us don't. But yeah, I started noticing it, and this is like you had said. This is one of those things that I have gotten in fights with. Well, I won't say fight, but argument with family members and friends over if this is real or not, and they want to insist, "Oh, it has always been that way for our entire lives," and I don't think so, and at least not around here it hasn't. No, there was some complaint about it back in the '60s. I guess there was a group of wealthy homeowners, and forgive me for getting the details wrong here, but it's either Key West or one of the other very well-to-do Miami areas. But they were getting residents got all upset because the U.S. Navy and the Air Force was doing experiments out at the sea and putting up all these lines and messing up the sky. And they said, we paid all this money for this great view, and you guys keep messing it up. And it went to court. So there's public record of this. And the U.S. Air Force said, well, we're going to keep doing it no matter what you say. So go ahead and write all the laws you want. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And they have. So, but now
they've done tests, releasing shit in San Francisco, and St. Louis was a big one too. And it got a lot of people sick. But it's so interesting because just like COVID, if you go to search any of this stuff, like it really depends on what browser you use as to what it tells you. Like it's like the third rail of like, you can't talk about the planes in the sky. But I thought it was really interesting because I saw this, there was an episode of Joe Rogan and he was talking to this guy, Nick something or other. And they were basically like, Joe Rogan to me seems like the kind of guy who's very like open-minded. He's really inquisitive. Like he, isn't inherently trusting of the government, but he was just like, what is this bullshit? You guys are saying that there's like these chemtrails and all this like crap. And like, why would they even do that? Why would they even spend that kind of money? There's no reason to do it. And then he says that, people are saying that it causes these ill effects. And then his argument is it's too expensive to test it. And then he's saying based off this one test where the guy got the test results back and said that they were testing for, that his sample wasn't, that he sent in to get tested wasn't water. He was testing sludge. And that is like any water with particulates in it. So they put the word sludge. And so Joe Rogan says, well, sludge is dirt. Of course, you're going to find aluminum in dirt. It's like the most obvious prolific chemical or element that we have in our dirt. Of course, you're going to find it. So that's totally debunked. And therefore, there's no such thing as chemtrails. But it's just wild because they call it conspiracy theories. And yet Tennessee, I think Maine was passing something. Florida just passed a law that DeSantis signed. Marjorie Taylor Greene was working on one. How can it be against the law if it doesn't exist?
For what Joe Rogan had said, I would have liked to have let him know that they're finding aluminum in high concentration in snow-top mountains like Mount Shasta in California. Where there should be zero aluminum, there is a lot of aluminum. And the reason for that is because they're spraying it down on us. And they haven't, according to them, it's for solar remediation. It's to block out the sun to slow global warming from all this damage that we supposedly did. So we're trying to undo the harm by spraying the planet. The only thing I think is weird about that is I've noticed lately that they're spraying early morning and in the evening. So even at night with a full moon, you'll see some trails. So whatever they're spraying, it isn't to block the sun. So,
okay, so that's interesting because this guy that was on Joe Rogan, this Nick West guy, he said that if we could, so that basically when you create these clouds and it's like, oh, all you're doing is just amplifying the clouds. Like with what? With what? Like you're not bringing water up there with you. You're bringing aluminum, strontium, barium. Like we'll get into those. But so, okay, so you're impregnating these clouds with bullshit, whatever. Let's pretend it's all natural fucking vitamins that you need to inhale. He said that basically what it's doing when there's this natural condensation, he's saying that basically all planes emit it, that there are just invisible clouds. And as the plane goes by, it upsets it creates more condensation as the plane is going, and that they're contrails or chemtrails. They're just condensation. It's totally natural. and he's saying that the clouds actually repel the sun's radiation during the day, and at night clouds repel the radiation coming from the earth back to the earth. And this is what this man said that was like so fascinating to me. He said, if you could stop all flights from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., you would have less of these natural clouds, and you would have less radiation bouncing back to the earth, and you would lower the temperature of the planet.
Not so.
What are we doing? Like, we had dinosaurs, like, or maybe we didn't. I don't know. But we've been on this planet for a long time, and only now are we seeing all these like catastrophes and all this sickness and all this stuff. But it's cow farts. Like, it has nothing to do with the strontium in the sky.
The founder of the Weather Channel, the guy that originally founded it, I mean, look up. I think his name is John Coleman. I'm not sure, but hopefully that's the right name. But he was kind of controversial in that he came out and said that man-made climate change is not real, and that none of the science that they're talking about is real. The amount of carbon in the atmosphere isn't a big deal because it's such a minute amount. And what, according to him, the way that it works is like the Earth goes through temperature changes. Goes up and down like that. Well, they started recording on a low spot, so naturally the temperature is going to rise automatically, whether we were here or not. It would be going up. So there's that. As to how much man can change the temperature, I don't know. But we can definitely create things like the Dust Bowl that we did back in the early part of America by over farming and creating bad weather that way. And we definitely have the ability to channel weather. I want to say it was like 1938 or something like that. Right around that time, the U.S. Air Force was able to steer a hurricane into the coastline of Georgia using iodine. They just basically went up there and sprayed it along one side of the storm, and it caused a cooling effect and drew the storm towards the cold and steered it into the Georgia coastline, killing like 88 people or something.
Jeez.
Look it up. Don't take my word for it. But other people might be familiar with the Operation Popeye. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, during the Vietnam War, it was supposed that the American armed forces were causing the tsunami or the normal wet season, prolong it, and hope to intensify the rain by seeding clouds in order to make it rain harder over certain areas. Their idea was that they were going to wash out the Ho Chi Minh Trail and make it very difficult for northern Vietnamese to advance. And so they did this thing called Operation Popeye, where they were seeding clouds and increasing the rain. And you could go ask anybody if there's anybody still around that was at Woodstock. They said that they thought the airplanes were making it rain hard on them too. And if you remember the very first Woodstock.
I do remember the pictures of Woodstock and how muddy it was. Party's over. It's like they can't turn the lights off like you can at a bar, so they just have to like rain on you. Circle of One says bombing Vietnam with cans of spinach. And Red Bike says Popeye was evidence. We have the technology. Okay, so we have our guest is now backstage, and we have plenty more to talk about with chemtrails. So let's add him. And
hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
I feel like I'm like huge compared to you guys. I don't want to be giant. Hi, friend. Okay, so this is Utah's Deep Throat, we're calling you, Paul Revere. And I'm so excited to have you on. We met on Facebook. And so it's legit. But you were just like a wealth of information. And so we've been talking about chemtrails versus contrails versus cloud seeding versus weather modification versus geoengineering. Like, I feel like they're calling it a bunch of different things. It's like that Spider-Man meme.
Right. And there's a lot to the geoengineering, quote unquote. There's a lot to it's a long, deep subject. Essentially what it comes down to is they want to confuse people on regards what is a con, what's a chem, and what are they doing. And the newest thing now is potash. The black chemtrails are now they're doing potash, and who knows for what reason that is. For example, when they hit Utah 2 days ago, we went into a complete inversion, and basically it's been piddling out dirty rain for the last 48 hours. And so, anyway, so there's it's so weird how I even got into this and what I understand.
Yeah, give us a little background.
Okay, so here in Utah, we've got a lot of corruption, and we're not a squeaky clean Utah state that everybody thinks that we are. We're far from it. We're probably first in corruption, surpassing Illinois. It's that bad. So, and people would never think that, oh, Illinois is corrupt. Well, we've surpassed them. And so it came into the fact that I was getting involved with so many different things here in the state of Utah. And the next thing I knew, I was kind of getting involved, and I made some phone calls. And my first phone call was to a company called Weather Modification LLC out of Fargo, North Dakota. Mm-hmm. And so I got a return phone call back from the Utah Department of Natural Resources Management Group. And so they said that they basically gave me a flow chart type of thing of how the whole program works. Okay. So for example, the legislature allots the money. Okay. And this goes for any state. It's not just Utah. The legislation allots the money. The governor signs off on that money. So for example, Utah just increased their chemtrail position to $16 million.
Chemtrails that don't exist.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when they did that, legislation allots the money, the governor signs off on it, and then the DNR administers where they want the chemtrails to go. So, for example, the company that's here in Utah is called North American Weather Consultants, and they're out of Sandy, Utah. And I actually interviewed the owner of that company for 2 hours. And he flies typically the backcountry type of Utah, but he also did, and I don't know if you remember the flooding that happened in Los Angeles and Santa Ana a number of years ago that flooded all of LA River Basin, that flooded Santa Ana River Valley, killed a bunch of people, caused billions of dollars in property damage and so forth. His company was under contract with Santa Ana and the state of California for that. And they had flown into, San Bernardino, Riverside County to spray, so to speak. But all that water from there went rushing out to LA. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that's what caused all the damage. And he told me that their formulas that they put together, they're not exact science formulas. So they can get over the amount of barium, they can get over the amount of silver iodide, they can get all these things that cause all these problems. And they don't know what the fine line is to what's going to cause flooding, what's not going to cause flooding. And so from there, I got in touch with MonkeyWorks on YouTube guy. And so MonkeyWorks had been tracking, and he'd been pointing out which companies were flying in Utah, and he would specifically point it out in his shows. So one day in particular, there's another company from Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it's called Just Clouds. And so they're also known as SOAR. And SOAR basically is an acronym. Let me find out. I forget what they, something about atmospheric research, something or other. Anyway, basically what it comes down to, they were flying over Salt Lake. Okay. They were also flying over Texas. Now, this is prior to Augustus Dorico from Rainmaker. So remember Rainmaker that flew over the area to where that flooded in Texas, just that last one. Okay. So they had been flying over Texas prior to that, causing all that flooding out there. But Utah also contracts them to do that here in Utah. And they were trying to make the example that we need to have chemtrails or cloud seeding, as they call it out here, because they want to have the greatest snow on earth. That license plates in Utah for years ago, prior to the Olympics, the greatest snow on earth. And they had put it in, they put it under a moniker of the Great Salt Lake, because if the Great Salt Lake comes in and the combination of the Great Salt Lake water and then the storms overhead would create this powdery, fluffy snow.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where they usually try and hit. But nowadays, they're just hitting everywhere. Okay, they don't care that there's no boundaries in regards to what they're doing. They were typically, originally speaking, paying the farmers to put up hot pots all over where the Great Salt Lake is, in what they call Box Elder County, which is northern Utah. So the hot pots would put out these flames and spit out the silver iodide, and then that would create issues with the clouds and create that fluffy snow over the Great Salt Lake. And so anyway, so then it transitioned. And by the way, this has been going on since the 70s.
Shit.
Yes. So they were, the state of Utah was paying these farmers to do this. And then, of course, in the advent of all the airplanes and so forth, that's been going on, we found out, for over 10 plus years. And so anyway, going back to this weather modification. So weather modification, Just Clouds, and all these other companies, they fly out of these different regional airports. So with Weather Modification LLC out of Fargo, North Dakota, they also fly out of northern Utah at the what they call the Cache Valley or the Cache County Municipal Airport. And they'll usually use planes that'll go up to 20,000 feet. Okay, so that's the elevation that is the dead or is how do you call it? The highest point for private chemtrail companies to fly. Now, here's the kicker. When I got in touch with my other people that are familiar with all this, and I was able to get in touch with MonkeyWorks through my other guys, the guys that are flying above 20,000 feet are the non-tail number government birds. And that's the crazy part. So when I was doing some digging into this whole thing, coming to find out all these companies are also have an association with another association of chemtrail and chemical companies. And most of these companies are sponsored by what's called NSF. So I don't know if you bought anything from the store that says NSF certified. NSF is a government-formed company. So
I only knew NSF is non-sufficient funds, which
well, yeah,
that's
never see. Yeah, so the NSF.gov. But okay, so if they're sponsored by, so if all these companies are sponsored, or they're what they call platinum sponsorship from NSF, that means they're getting USAID money to, pay for these other companies to get these certifications, whatever, their sponsorships. And I'm like, so people are not aware that all that USAID money is being funneled in through these different organizations, and the NSF.gov is one of them. And so they then distribute all that money out to these chemtrail chemical companies.
And so, I mean, it's so interesting, but I mean, that's kind of the left, is to be totally contrary to the last thing that they said. It's like, right, Black Lives Matter, except for abortions, and like, right, yeah, women's rights, except a dude in the locker room, and like all of this chaos. But it isn't lost on me that at the same time that they're saying, like, we have to take all the cars off the road, and, cow farts are killing us, and like, the planet is exploding from human population, release the mosquitoes, and all this craziness.
Well, you remember in California, and I don't know if you were there during that time. So when I-15 was being built, where Interstate 10 is in Riverside County, almost near Rancho Cucamonga, there was a massive dairy farm, and the state of California forced them out of business because the cows were polluting Riverside County.
Yeah, it was stinky when you would drive by. It was a little smelly. But it's just because they're super concentrated. They never move. They don't have like clear pieces of grass to keep going to. So yeah, they're just in a pen shitting on each other all day. But so at the same time that they want us to be so fresh and natural, but not that natural, they're also like clear cutting all this farmland, at least like here in Michigan, to create these solar farms. And we've got them in our area. We're in the Lansing area, Chris and I. and where I'm a firefighter, and we already know that that place is totally toxic. It's a fire hazard. If it goes up, we'll hit it hard from the yard, as we say. We're not going in there.
Right.
It's an electrified grid. It's dangerous. We're just going to let it burn to the ground. And when those solar panels get hit by hail, which Michigan gets hail all the time, that panel is now toxic waste that goes to a landfill. And like there used to be grass there for a cow to eat and fart. So like,
did you hear about that solar farm in Las Vegas or in Nevada area outside of Pahrump?
No, what?
So where I-15 starts climbing the hill, they have what they call the Solar One farm. Okay. Mm-hmm. They found out that it needs to be torn down. So all those old solar panels that were there during the Obama administration, remember how he was really pushing for that to be there? So he was the one that gave all the tax incentives for that Solar One company to go to Las Vegas. Well, now that all of those are now way past their prime, they're just going to completely take it all down.
Well, they're still doing projects around here right now that are basically government funded, and they're building them, and they're not even on. They just construct them.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I did want to say real quick, have you guys heard of the document called Owning the Weather, or Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather by 2025? It was put out by the U.S. Air Force in 1996.
I didn't know that. No.
Okay. Yeah, in that they basically talk about how they're going to use chemtrails and radio waves and everything else to own the weather, just as they had demonstrated before as far back as 1938. We did it in Vietnam War. We demonstrated that we can manipulate weather. So they definitely, that was the idea, that they're going to weaponize the weather. When we just had that Hurricane Helene come right up the coast and tear ass up into a mountain range, and that's never happened before. And I have to believe that was man created, and we induced that storm and steered it into that and kept it there, just like they did in Texas and the other things. So
we have reason to believe that was actually from Weather Modification LLC. And it just continually, and what Monkey Works has been saying on his channel, I don't know if you watch it very much, there are certain locations, and especially in Texas, they actually have these lasers that when a cell starts forming, that they can make it into a supercell by forming or by pushing these lasers towards that supercell, and then it erupts. And so Monkey caught them in Texas outside of was it almost like San Antonio area.
Was that grid video that you sent me, Paul?
I'm not sure if that was one of them.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to go back on that. I don't think I sent that one. I'll have to go back to Monkey Works and find that out. But he was the one that caught that. And then there's also another guy named Dutch Sense, and he catches those all the time as well. So I don't know if you ever heard of him on YouTube. He's hated by the weather companies out there because he's the one that catches them with their weather modifications, and he's the one that predicts earthquakes and so forth. And so, but he's tied because of these weather situations. They're finding out that the electrons that the Earth has makes these things erupt. So there's certain parts of our country that have electronic like electrons that are higher in grade than most other places. So right now in Texas, especially, there's a certain section over there that has a higher amount of electrons. And so that erupts, and then the lasers can make it go crazy. And so anyway, but I'll go back and try and find that and see what we can send to you.
Yeah,
I have no doubt they're using lasers to kind of intensify particular storms, right. But I think most of the lion's share of work is being done by Doppler radar. What we think is just, telling us where the clouds are, the ones actually forming the clouds and pushing the clouds. And I've seen that in Michigan, because Grand Rapids has a big Doppler center there, and most of our weather is west to east, especially most of the summer. And, our prevailing winds are southwest. So most of our weather comes from that direction. And so you'll see it split, and it literally splits storms and pushes them north or south. It's weird.
Yeah, we've got a big Doppler center out here in Salt Lake as well. And that was one of the biggest things on one of our local stations out here, probably going back 15, 20 years now, that, now we're hooked up with Doppler radar. And like, oh my gosh, so.
Yeah. somebody, I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't looked into it to the degree, but I've heard numerous people claim they're like little mini. What's that thing in Alaska?
The Harp Center.
Harp center. Yeah, they're little mini harps. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I can believe it. And even people see some cell towers because the amount of electricity going to a cell tower far exceeds the need for communication. And like, well, there's more to this than that. It might be. I don't know. I look into that weather, owning the weather by 2025.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. When this comes up, they're trying to get guys that will actually go out like citizen journalist type of thing, but no one has been able to spot where in the heck they're shooting these lasers from. And that's we need somebody. Yeah, we need somebody to actually go in and say, okay, we found out where these coordinates are, and go in and do this. Going back to this, I don't know if I mentioned this prior to you. So there was a lady in Fresno, California, that she had found out that one of the pilots for one of these weather modification companies was flying out of the Fresno Municipal Airport, and she confronts him at nighttime. So come to find out, most of these pilots that are doing these chemtrail planes are single, and they don't care about anything else. They'll just
not single engine airplane. You're talking about no kids, no wife.
No kids, no family, and they just don't care. So
yeah, because the stuff that's coming out of them, I mean, it has major side effects. I mean, even just looking at the aluminum, like we stopped using aluminum pots and pans. Like we don't put aluminum deodorant on anymore. Like from pots to pits, like we have all decided that aluminum is bad, and yet now let's aerosolize it so you can all inhale it. There'll be no problem with that. Don't worry about the Alzheimer's and everything that comes from it.
You just said potash earlier. Potash, when he said that, I thought arsenic right off the bat, because I know that's a issue with potash.
Right. So potash, there's a big
spraying arsenic.
Yeah. So potash is mined out of Wyoming, outside of Green River, Wyoming, and that's where they have a large mine of it. And so most of that potash is then created. What's funny is they use it for building material. So if you've ever done Hardy Backer board, okay, or seen that they do Hardy Backer siding instead of vinyl siding, this is that lifetime siding. So it's a very hard, rigid siding that you can get from any of the big boxes. So Hardy Backer is also made with potash. And I've had to use Hardy Backer in numerous cases when I'm building showers, or I've done siding before because I work construction. And you got to cut it, and you can smell it. So it's a very, very fine powder type of thing. And so they're using it for so many things, but it's dangerous.
So when you use it as a construction material, are you using any PPEs? Are you using a N95 or anything, or you're just?
I usually try and wear a mask because I actually have protective glasses that I wear, and I'll usually try and wear a mask if I go to cut it. I haven't had to use it for a long time, but yeah. So when you're using it for like a shower membrane type of thing, and you go to cut it to try and fit on certain things, and it makes it turns into a fine powder whenever you cut into it. And so so the potash is made with Hardy Backer siding and boards and so forth. And so, but the potash is being used for more and more. And I just couldn't understand why in the hell are they actually using it for chemtrails now? What is the significance of putting this black chemical into the sky?
And have they explained it?
No, they haven't.
Yeah, it's just like, not to get under another conspiracy, but just like with the vaccines, when they were putting the aluminum formaldehyde, SM-102, and like all these like known carcinogens and neurotoxins and all this stuff into it, is like, well, what does it do? Why is that required for the effect of, killing the cold or making it rain or whatever? Like, why do we need these things that are known to be neurotoxic? I mean, just aluminum alone, impairs kidney function, softens bones, Alzheimer's, reduced lung function, like all this craziness.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't use it anymore. I don't even like put it on top of my lasagna anymore. Like I just don't use it.
Yeah.
And then you're adding, barium and strontium and silver, iodine and stuff, and all of those birth defects. And there's all kinds of problems with these. And I feel like we could all look around and go, damn, like we're not living as long as we used to. And a lot of us have cancer and problems, and like we're doing something wrong. And I don't think it's the cow farts. So
here's an interesting thing. We have a backyard pool here. And so it's an above ground pool. And 2 years ago, right before winter time came, we usually cover it. And so it had rained prior to or after we had put the cover on top of it. And next couple days, it rained. And then all that water that was on top of that cover turned red. Yeah. And I should have taken and had that sent out and sampled. I didn't. But I thought, that is so strange that all the water that is on top of the pool cover doesn't have anything else in it, but all that water turned red.
Like algae?
No. No, it was an actual chemical red. There was no algae or anything on top of the cover. That's the weird thing. And so now for the last 2 years, I've not been able to grow a garden at all.
Oh, really?
As soon as like July happens, I will, and I'll have pumpkins growing, I'll have squash growing, I'll have the cucumbers. And I'm not joking you, when they start flying in July, within about a week or a few days, all that stuff is dead. The only ones I've been able to grow for 2 years have been tomatoes.
My neighbor, who's an avid gardener, literally has accreditation for being, how well he does. He grows everything, and he has told me all his heirloom seeds are failing.
Yes,
everything that
one of mine have.
Yeah, and like he couldn't understand it. He didn't get anything out of his garden, like a handful of vegetables, and that was it. When normally he's giving stuff away because he has too much. Yeah, he doesn't want to can it all or do anything with it.
Yeah, it kills the heirloom seed because the heirloom seed is a natural, versus when they're hybrid. They want
you to buy their seed. That's why they want you to buy their seed that is resistant to aluminum and all the other bullshit they're putting in the soil. So
correct.
You only have one choice. You have to buy the GMO seed. You have to buy Monsanto's product, or else it won't grow. Have you seen anything about the sunflowers not facing the sun anymore? I've heard and I've actually seen it. So I have not
seen those. I know that my friend who grows sunflowers, he'll grow 20 or 30 at a time in his yard, and they're always facing east, and they've never had any problem yet.
Okay. Well, there was a field around here that seemed to have quite a bit of confused sunflowers because they weren't. They were just. It was really strange.
That is so wild.
Yeah. But yeah, the heirloom seeds are failing. That's happening up here too with people who are avid gardeners and know what to do. If it failed when I did it, I would think it was just me.
And I always pre-plant my heirloom seeds every single year. And as soon as I put them outside, they die.
Okay. Yeah, that's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is because I have been using heirloom seeds for probably 3 or 4 years, where the last 2 years are just, it's ruined it.
Here's one thing I wanted to say. When I first moved into this place I'm living in now, when I had to mow the backyard, I had to wear a hoodie because the mosquitoes were so fierce. I would just be like giving a blood transfusion trying to mow the lawn. It was really bad.
See, and I was born in North Dakota. I left when I was like 4.5 years old. My mom hated North Dakota and Minneapolis because the mosquitoes were horrible. And
well, they're almost non-existent now. I mean, they're still out there, but they ain't nothing like it was. And another thing, the lightning bugs or fireflies, whatever you call them, are almost completely gone. There's almost no June bugs. I didn't see any. The cicadas are way down. So like all these tinier little animals are dying off, and like nobody really gives a shit. We're not paying attention. And
we usually have a lot of June bugs out here in the summertime, and I've not seen any for probably at least 2 years or so.
Yeah, say a couple years. Yeah, no June bugs. I mean, I know June bugs. I hate the damn things, man. One landed on me when I was a kid, and I ran into a tree trying to get it off me. Always hate
Now
Jim
we
Benz.
did out in the near west desert towns. We had what they call the Mormon crickets.
Oh, the Jerusalem crickets.
Yes, the Jerusalem crickets.
Oh my God. I watched my sister bite the head off of one of them once. She was a toddler.
Oh.
She didn't know any better, but it was so
Gross.
disgusting.
Yeah, so they have infested typically in the summertime. Like last year, they're crawling over everything.
Oh, they're aliens.
Yeah, it's so disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, even the bees, which of course that's its own rabbit hole.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that's a whole nother rabbit hole right now.
Yes.
Hey, Rose Sisselar, welcome. So what I think is so interesting is that, yes, we see all this stuff. In fact, if you go online, you put like what happens if you're exposed to silver iodide, it says seek medical attention immediately. But if it's spraying on us, but then on the other hand, they're doing all this woo-sha shit to pretend like it's not what you think it is. These aren't the droids you're looking for. In fact, I saw this one news broadcast where they were doing a little thing on like chemtrails aren't real and you guys are all fools, go home. And their big evidence was that Kylie Jenner posted a badly misspelled tweet about chemtrails and calling them white stuff. So thanks, enough to see here. Like, okay, but this is what pisses me off is like, don't shoot the messenger just because she can't fucking spell. But so then, well, I mean, we know just with COVID, I'm fully down, and we'll get into that, about how that was, we won't get into COVID, but about how there were decisions made above our pay grades that weren't in our best interest for our health. And
back in middle of 2019, you mean?
Yes.
Prior to.
Yes. And so we know that the vast majority of people that were hospitalized with COVID were vitamin D deficient or morbidly obese. And those are things that are pretty easily taken care of, especially if you have all the backing of the government and all these billions of dollars that they were willing to blow. And so if vitamin D is so important to us, then cloud seeding is really getting you sick. And so they were saying that there have been studies when extra cloud seeding, geoengineering, whatever it is, we're going to just lump it all into the same thing. When more of that is done to create those clouds, then it makes sense that we're getting less vitamin D from the natural source. And so is that creating the sickness because we're not getting the vitamin D, or is it in fact all of this various chemical concoction that they're sprinkling onto us?
Well, what was Bill Gates saying a few years back, that they wanted to block the sun?
Yep. He was going to lower the temperature, and then he was going to bury trees and put solar farms in.
Yeah, and so here in Utah, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen how Salt Lake Valley is, topographically speaking. We call it a toilet bowl because when and we have refineries here in what's called North Salt Lake. So we have Chevron, we've got Holly refineries and so forth. And so what happens is, what we're finding out, because it's one big gigantic area that's surrounded by mountain range on all sides. And so the refineries start kicking out this terrible leaching stuff from their stacks, and of course they pay off the legislators and our senators out here. Oh no, we have ours is completely healthy. All you're seeing is steam. After a storm, if you go to our southwest part of our valley, you can see this brown stuff rising from the refineries, and it makes its way all around the rim of what they call the coastline of the Great Salt Lake, the Bonneville, Lake Bonneville. What they call the Lake Bonneville Bench area. So it starts making its way around until it circles all, and then all of a sudden all this pollution starts encompassing. So in the last 2 days, we've been under inversion, okay? And so when we see this, it always makes me wonder, it's like, okay, well, what are they doing above that inversion? Because I'm hearing more and more from other people. I've got a group in San Diego that they see it in certain parts of San Diego County, where they have these big areas that are surrounded by mountain ranges. They get this inversion in. So what are they doing above there, or why are they going to try and create this? Because they said they got hit with chemtrails hard this past week, and look what happened in San Diego County, or even in LA County. They're all getting flooded right now. And so, and it's not a coincidence. Every place that I have contacts in, they always tell me that now they have flooding and now they're having this. And here's what we're seeing with inversions. And then, of course, we always go back to Bill Gates saying, oh, I'm going to block the sun so that we don't have solar radiation. Okay, so what do you want? Do you want solar everywhere, or do you want
Right.
Yeah, they're going to sell us solar and then block out the sun. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. That doesn't make any sense. And then if they, I don't know where my brain was going. You were just saying something so good and I wanted to jump on it. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
If you remember, let me know.
Control brain.
So all I'm saying is we live in this big, huge, like almost like a dust bowl type of thing, but basically it creates this pollution, and then it's covered over by all these heavy clouds. And so now we're under massive cloud cover. And you remember living in LA in that time period, that whenever you have these clouds, it just has this heavy dew rain that comes down from the clouds, and your cars would be soaking wet in the morning time, and it just, your cars would turn dirty. So all of our cars are completely, they're just dust covered because of all this, this heavy dew that's coming down from the inversion. And so what is in that inversion? Are we looking that it's chemicalized, aerosolized? What are they doing above that we're not seeing? Because whenever they cover, that means that they're doing something above. I never ever trust when they start chemtrailing what's actually going on above that elevation. So anyway.
Yeah, this week in Michigan, we went from 12 degrees the other day, and it's going to be 49 on Thursday, supposedly.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, it'll be a nice day, and then those motherfucking planes are up, and it's like, oh man,
yeah,
we were having a really nice week, leave it alone. And then all of a sudden it'll rain, or we just have like a weird freak snowstorm for a day, and then it goes away. But I have been noticing more often that they're flying at sunset.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's like, if they're flying at night, like we won't even really know that.
Right.
Yeah. That's not solar remediation, that's for sure.
Right,
They're not
exactly.
going to block out the sun. It has a different ulterior
motives, yeah. And so
I think it's depopulation myself. I think what they're doing is just making everybody so damn sick, and like only people that are going to be left around are ones that are resistant, like the seeds. So I don't. Then this is one thing I think interesting aspect about chemtrails that nobody taps into. Mm-hmm. This could be the great equalizer, if you think about it, because chemtrails don't give a shit what your faith in God is, or who you fuck, or what your color of skin is. It's all the same.
Yeah,
we're all fucked.
Yeah.
They're spraying everybody, so it doesn't matter what you're religious or philosophical or sexual preference. All that doesn't matter.
It's an equal opportunity polluter.
Yeah, it's killing us all.
Yeah.
But guys, then why do that though? Because the elites or whatever, the reptilian overlords, they live amongst us. So like, why would they want to poison themselves and their family too? Or is it like COVID where they all got placebos and we were all like walked off the plank?
Well, it is possible to contain this poison in a certain part of the globe, and they can go and live in other places that are not contaminated. So they can sit back while we all die, because we
right
can't.
Now they're spraying here, and right now right now they're here.
Yeah. Well,
what's funny is there's so many people now that have this nagging cough. Like I was interviewed on a show today in England by a lady, and she has this nagging cough. Most of us here in Utah just finished with that like 2 weeks ago. So when I'm seeing that whenever they chemtrail, within a few days afterwards, all these people start getting these weird coughs.
Yeah, it takes a couple days to get down here.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know if you guys are experiencing that up in your area. But
everybody I know is sick, except somehow, I don't know. I think it's because I lick doorknobs, Paul. Like I am just the human cockroach, and like I'm just never sick. But yeah, everybody at work has been coughing, but they call it long COVID, and then whatever, they all have the flu.
We have gone through the biggest brainwashing these last 5 years, because people are, look, it's long. I call it convid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rosas Alert in the chat says, or there are nanobots already in everybody else's bodies and blood that gets activated while theirs stays pure of the nanobots. Yeah, I mean, the nanobots can be in food, they can be aerosolized. So, but if you're saying that along with the jibbity jab causes the two great tastes to taste great together, then that kind of makes sense, I guess. Although it makes more sense if you were really trying to depopulate, whatever, weaken us, wouldn't you want to give a true antidote to the sheep? Like, hey guys, this is going to save you. And then the people like us that said, hell no, then we're the ones that really are going to be sick and going to be having all these problems, so that everybody gets like, oh yeah, thank God I got it. Thank God I got boosted. Get boosted again. Get boosted again. And so then you give an actual antidote to the good sheep that are willing to do it. And then you make the antidote harder and harder and harder to get as you weed out the population. But right now I feel like what they've created is super bugs. People like me and some of my friends, where we were never really like that interested in the government and we didn't really care and we just dutifully paid our taxes, that are now starting to question and get angry. And like, even I was talking to my coworker today, and he's such a fantastic guy. I mean, just the greatest guy. And he has cancer right now, and he was jabbed, and he's trying to go through the whole thing to get detoxed off of that. And he's doing these great fasts, and he's doing all this great stuff, and his health is doing really well. And I mean, just, it couldn't have happened to a better guy. But so he was talking today about what the fuck were we talking about? Why am I all over the place?
About
the
population,
so
whether or not,
with that, like, so if you're trying to pick people off, this guy has been a rule follower his whole life.
Right.
Absolutely. Like today, the boss wasn't in, I basically did everything but put my feet on the desk and like bid on prosthetic limbs on eBay. But he was telling me the story today about how he had shot a deer here, and I don't know how it works, so forgive me, but I guess the antlers were just like a little bit too long, and he couldn't gauge that from where he shot it. And then as he goes up to process the deer, he's like, oh shit, this deer is illegal. Right. So he calls DNR, which is Department of whatever.
Department of Natural Resources.
I just think of it as do not resuscitate. I was a cop for too long.
Right.
And so he calls DNR over to come take this deer off of him. And the DNR guy was like, are you sure? He's like, yep, it's outside regulation. The tips are too long or whatever the hell it is. And the guy's like, okay, well, we're just going to take it and give it to somebody needy. And my coworker's needy. Like his family could have eaten that all winter. But he's totally such a rule follower. He's such a good guy. He was like doing all this training today. Like, even though the boss wasn't there, I was like, nobody's here, Dick. But, but even he today, because he's like almost at the point of retiring, that carrot just gets a little bit smaller and a little bit further every single fucking day. It's heartbreaking. He has cancer. He shouldn't be at work anymore. He's been working for his whole life, and it's time to retire. And then he had to go get this job. He retired from another place, and he was like, well, I have cancer. Who's going to pay for that? I better go get another job. And so that's how he came to work for my fire department. And I mean, just such a fucking great guy. It is so heartbreaking. It makes me want to punch walls when I see like how unfair life is for him. Like, I'll struggle, I'll suck it up, like I'll figure it out. But like for him, that's so unfair. Yeah. And he's like, I'm getting to the point where I just don't give a shit anymore. And like, that's a really scary thing, because his whole life, he has been such a rule follower. And it's
versus me.
Just, COVID and this and that and the other. And like, it's just everything. And I really think that there's so many of us like that now that really didn't pay that much attention. But now you like one little rabbit hole brings you to another, And then you sound crazy to people who haven't gotten off of the runaway train, like way far back. They're still on it, ready to rock. Like, let's crash.
See, when you met me through Facebook, I've always been a black sheep, if you want to call it. I've never been a rule follower. Even though I'm a registered Republican conservative, I am extremely libertarian, because the government, stay out of my life. Government, stay out of my house. All the other crap. And so, and I was very punk rock when I was in high school. I didn't care about anything. And so, and I'm still that way. And that's why I'm in the position I am out here in Utah, is because I'm so fed up with people trying to push their ways on me or those who I'm around. And what's interesting in the last 5 years is I found my tribe. I had gotten rid of so many friends over the years because of the leeches that they had become, that this new tribe is now, we're going to go in, we're going to expose this, we're going to go. And we have people that's all they do. They have people that go in and they work on legislative items. They have people that go in. I've got a mole that infiltrates the elite parties here in Utah. I have a person that is former military, and she goes in and does her thing when it comes down to that. I mean, it's so cool now because all of us are so fed up. We now have
you see a lot of that with these independent journalists. This young kid with the Somali daycare and
the Nick Shirley guy,
Candace Owens thing, all of that. Mm-hmm. And so, but let's talk about the legal part of it then for a second, because I do want to get into more of the Egyptian planes, the conspiracy part of it, and whistleblowers for sure, because I want to talk about this Mitch Snow thing that I don't hear from anybody. And I just want to know, like, am I crazy for thinking what I'm thinking about this? Because nobody else is saying what I am think is obvious. So they've made it illegal, this geoengineering, whatever you call it, in a few states. But it's
Tennessee,
illegal in
Florida,
Tennessee,
those kind of things.
But it's still happening.
Right. Those are the government birds that are doing that. They're above the 20,000 foot elevation.
But so it doesn't, the geoengineering wasn't, you can't geoengineer at 15,000 feet, but it's cool at 25. It was no geoengineering.
Right. So that means those companies like Just Clouds, Rainmaker, North American Weather Consultants, Weather Modification LLC, they're not paying into those companies anymore. Now the government is going above the 20,000 foot elevation because all the other chemtrail companies are their lid or their ceiling is 20,000 foot. Okay.
Well, it's all funded by the government. Basically. Correct.
Yeah. When I went
I don't know how Bill Gates worked that, but I guess he got COVID. It's all bend over for COVID.
Correct. And so, and I'm, when it comes down to rabbit holes and the whole COVID situation back then, so they didn't get some of the population. So how are they going to get the rest of the population? And they don't care about those who already got it, got the jibber jabber. And so.
Right. But now they're creating super bugs that if they say, hey, here's some free vitamins, that we're all going to be like, fuck you. I know you're trying to kill us. That's
the thing. We can't trust even the new over the counter ivermectin, because where is it coming from?
Yeah, but I mean, the same is true for aspirin. The same is true for Oreos. The same is true for anything.
Which reminds me,
I want to say on the ivermectin thing. I want to know people to know this, and this is something that's been well known from the beginning. Ivermectin will eradicate sperm, so you got to be careful with that. And that's why I
don't have any sperm.
Well, yes, it'll start. But anyway, that's why they prescribed it from certain countries that were coming into America were given ivermectin to slow down their birth rate when they got here.
Right.
It does also kill parasites. It does that. But
and I'm on an ivermectin protocol right now. Okay. I take usually so I take a little bit every single morning and one at nighttime, and then also I take a chelated.
Are you talking pills, pastes,
yes,
sterilized,
the latter
injection? Okay,
the latter. And so, but I'll take a chelated magnesium, which is a bonding agent that flushes out those parasites and all the other toxins, and it works. I've as soon as I started doing that again, all of a sudden it started working. But I also include out here in Utah, we have a really non-homogenized whipped honey that I buy. And it is some of the best natural honey you can get. It's literally like right off the honeycomb, and like a tablespoon or two of those will stop any bacteria that could be going on in your body. It's amazing. I had an infection on my hand when I broke my hand a couple of years ago, and there was an infection. I put the honey on top of it. 2 days later, all dried up, all gone. It was that good. And so I try to include with my protocol a spoonful of honey to go along with it as well. But I'll do it because the bonding agent with the chelated magnesium can help rid some of those toxins, especially there with the parasites, with the meat that they have out there nowadays, with Bill Gates meat and all the other stuff, that the mRNA meats that they're putting into it. We don't know,
Yeah.
and it's super rare. And by the way, I don't go to any more fast food restaurants. All those have been gone for 5 years. I don't drink any soda anymore because all the high fructose corn syrup. I quit having. I used to love candy bars. I love Reese's. I've sworn off all candy bars now for almost 5 years now because of the bioengineered ingredients. Because what they're putting into our food chain is part of this whole thing. What is getting into our system? The toxins, the parasites. There's so much of that.
Yeah, I want to catch up with the chat for a second.
Right.
Rod was talking about he's in Texas and that his weather has been crazy. It's going from like 30 to 70 to 30 to 70. I was like, I almost came over, but now you're fucked up. He said, I was outside working in the yard today and now I'm feeling pretty crappy. And then Rosas Alert says, I have to highly recommend everyone look at Extreme Reality Check Rumble video on RH negative blood. It's an eye opener.
Yes.
And Circle of One says DNR is donut reconnaissance. I'm down for some DNR. I want a apple fritter DNR.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Rod says retiring. What's that? And Rosa Slart says God warned us in His word that His enemy is working on this world, and God gave advice how to navigate while here with them. The point is that there are no perfect angels to manage our lives and tell us what to do while they do not experience the consequences. Only we do. And she says, exactly. Preach it, Paul. And Super Biatch says, I'm a maid. I never wear gloves, never been jabbed, and I don't ever get sick. That's true. Yeah. She's hardy. She will live long. She and I are going to be the last two cockroaches left in Michigan.
Live long and prosper.
Yes, exactly. We are more human than human. Okay, so then Rosa Slart says the private companies that hire geo for snow and the ski resorts in Colorado could be causing tornadoes downstream.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of the geoengineering, they're saying that like, well, it's no different than, just making snow, just like natural snow with these snow machines for the ski resorts. But even that is like they're not shooting the air with particulates that cause birth defects and liver failure and bone density issues and cancer and everything else. And Rosa Slart says, so true. Paula used ivermectin for well over a decade prior to 2020, and it changed after old companies were bought out, etc. Bless you, Chris. Right. I used ivermectin for the horses and used it for myself since I deal with so many rescue animals. I've done that for years and years. I don't know that I'm doing the right one, but it's the one that I could get. And so thank you, Tractor Supply.
Yeah, same here. It's the same one that I get then.
Oh, okay. But I'm not doing the paste. And
should I get it and show you?
Ivermectin was originally
developed. Why not? I think YouTube has already torn us down. We're already like totally screwed.
So let me get this here real quick.
Yeah, I've seen those ones. Is that like the apple? That just sounded totally terrifying.
That's the apple, yes.
Totally terrifying. And so you do like a dime size amount or something?
Less. Mine. So if you were to get, it would probably be less than even a pea size, like half a pea size.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You just like rub it on your gums like some cocaine or something, or what?
Well, I just put it on my tongue.
On your omelet?
I just drink it with my when I do the chelated magnesium.
You only need like the size of a pea. Thanks, Rose Sissel. Yeah, I don't know. So I was doing the 1% sterile solution, the injectable, but I'm not injecting it. And but I don't know. I mean, when I'm gonna get sick, and I rarely get sick, but I lose my voice a lot, mostly because I can't ever shut the fuck up. But it's the first thing to go, it's the last thing to come back, and so you always feel that like and then I'll do ivermectin for a couple of days, and I just put the drops in water, and then I don't ever get sick. Now, does that mean that like I would have never gotten sick anyway, or that it saved me? Like, these are things I don't know. But all I can say is that just looking at my coworkers and how miserable they've been over the past 5 years, is like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about COVID and whistleblowers in another way. But I did just want to wrap up with planes and talk about, so if it is banned, what is it that we can do to stop the government ones from doing it? Is there a way, I know that you track planes, like, is there a way to track these to find out what they're doing and more?
So Monkey had been doing it for a while, but they've all turned their transponders off, and that's the downside. And
is that legal? Like, I know just from a cop, if you can't drive a car on the road without a license plate and registration.
It's the government. They can get away with whatever the hell they want to, unfortunately.
Because that's something that's really going to come into play more now that we have that whole Egyptian plane mess with TPUSA and Charlie Kirk. And because a lot of it was tracking it, and if you're saying that the tracking is voluntary, and I would have to think that if our government can turn their shit off, then the Egyptian government could turn their shit off when they're flying rich people around our country. Yes. And then rich people can turn their shit off. And then basically it's rules for thee and not for me.
And that's the whole problem.
Those planes are only registered in Egypt. That doesn't mean that there's Egyptians flying them or there has anything to do with Egypt. The tail numbers were registered in Egypt. That's all that means when they say Egyptians. It could be Americans flying it. It could be Russians. Could be Israelis. It could be
can I tell you a little story about the Bank of Utah and the plane laundering out here?
Yeah.
So Bank of Utah is funded by Bain and Boston Capital. I don't know if you ever heard of them before.
Yes.
Nope. Mitt Romney?
Yes, Bain Capital, yeah.
Yeah. So they're the ones that fund the Bank of Utah. So Bank of Utah is what they call a plane trust, but it's plane laundering because they launder them through 15 different shell corporations. So they get a squeaky clean Utah tail number. So they'll show up in South America. They'll show up in Tehran, Iran. And no one ever thinks about it because, it's got a Utah squeaky clean tail number. But they're sent to terrorist organizations. They're sent to cartels, all this other stuff. And it made big news about 3 to 4 years ago. And then the new CEO of Bank of Utah came out and said, no, we call them plane trusts. And they're so that these people can own planes without, it's still the same thing. You're laundering to organizations that could kill us. And so they hide all these people that actually own the plane through shell corporations, so they can hide what's going on. And so they'll fly all over the world with the Utah squeaky clean tail number. And the Bank of Utah makes $80 million a year doing Utah tail numbers for airplanes. And they'll do it all over the world.
Yeah, I don't know much about planes, but I know a lot about cars. And I used to impound a lot of cars for 21 for the 22651J of the vehicle code, 22651, which was an impound code for VIN verification because you have these SAC titles.
Yes.
Essentially, I own a 2015 Audi, and it gets salvaged because it gets stolen, and all the doors get taken off of it. The steering wheel is stolen. The seats are stolen. My car is stolen. And you go buy my car as a salvage title to get a clean VIN. Then either I give you all the parts and we split the car and we split the cost of it. So we got paid for the car and now the car is right again. And then when I pull it over and I see that it's a salvage title and I'm like, why would you fix a 2015 car why would you put $100,000 into finding the exact pieces that fit this car, or fixing the wiring when it was like dropped in a bog or whatever the hell happened to this car, that an insurance company said, I don't want anything to do with this fucking thing. So either it's stolen, or it's the car that it was that you stole the shit off of and put it back on, and it's just a shell game where I'm lending it to you and you're buying it at salvage, and then we're all doing this like whole scheme.
So this is what's going on in England. You and I had that brief conversation. And so there's a guy over on YouTube from England. His name is Mark McCann. And he goes out and finds what they call cloned cars. Okay, so these cloned cars are stolen out of usually England area, London, UK region, and then they're shipped off to, let's say, to Greece. Okay, and that's supposed to be the real car, but this car in London, the guys that they usually sell through Copart are now what they call clone cars. And so what they'll do to get a squeaky clean VIN number is that they will cut off a section of the inner firewall, and they'll take the old VIN number and say, well, I need the exact same VIN number because my car was in an accident. And so they'll actually go to BMW, and that's the hottest clone car right now in the UK is the BMW.
And I would find odd cars, usually like lower end luxury cars that were still on the roads here. The higher end luxury cars that they would steal and do these VIN switch sack titles on them, those would go on shipping containers and be sent off to foreign countries immediately. But you've got like the Audis, the Lexus, the BMW, the Mercedes, and those ones were still on the road. And I've pulled over cars where the firewall doesn't match the VIN placard in the dashboard, or it doesn't match the door sticker, or the door sticker just conveniently has a gash through the VIN on it. Like, oh, my screwdriver slipped. Like, bro, what were you working on right there in the fucking doorway? And so that's why you take it for the 22651J is VIN verification. Like your Franken car, like I remember taking it once from this lady who was like crying. Like she knew she was in a stolen fucking car, but she was saying like, oh, but you know, this is my car, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, half of it's your car, but the other half has a different VIN number. And, you know, she had a kid in the car with her because it's a whole family operation. And because it had dealer plates on it, there was more to it. But so I said, you especially want me to find out what the hell's going on with this car. And that's why NHTSA, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, helps out so much with these SAC titles because, and it's so easy because you're saying that like this white Lexus, let's say, is a total loss for some insurance company. Well, those photos of that loss of that original report, you can get through NHTSA, and then you see that the car was originally dark blue or something. Okay, well, maybe this door used to be gold and that door used to be white and it's all been painted. But once you start peeling away like pieces of the trim and the carpet and stuff, then you can see if the car truly was navy blue, like the VIN indicates, even though the car is white today. And you see no indication of that. And it wouldn't make sense for a Lexus. A Lexus is not a 67 Mustang where you're going to take every piece of carpet off of it, every piece of trim, take that down to the bare metal and just completely do a really good paint job. You're going to tape, spray, you're going to peel carpet and go, oh, it's a different color. And when you don't find indications of that, and it's because like it was never that blue car, it's stealing the blue car's VIN number, but it's the stolen lady's white car with the blue car's VIN. And I loved that stuff. It was really fun. But planes are obviously outside of my thing because that's a lot harder to hide. You have a tail number, which is basically just paint. I mean, or is it like a VIN?
No, it's like a VIN, but it's through the FAA. But it's like what they do to cars. So you can wash a car's title. Okay, so it's not a salvage. You can wash a car's title the same way you can wash an airplane's ownership. You know, so you can go through the shell corporations, so that way it shows this company now owns it or this company owns it, back and forth. And so you can wash your same title for the car, but now the elite, because it's rules for thee and not for me kind of thing. So that's how they can do this with these squeaky clean tail numbers, and they'll launder it throughout the world. So this bank, because of, and that's a whole nother deep rabbit hole with Mitt Romney too, by the way. So,
Sometimes they have favorite tail numbers, because wasn't there a tail number that was shared by the Nexium cult and by Epstein or something like that? There was a helicopter tail number that was shared that connected those two in a really weird way, and it's like otherwise he would seem like two different things, but this one tail number connects these two events together, which kind of makes
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, really bizarre. I didn't look into it too much. I kind of watched the obscure video about it, but didn't look into it. But supposedly that's out there, I guess. Then there's a tail number like plane that went down, but I won't get into that.
So with the tail number, that's more like just having multiple license plates, saying, sexy mom 1 on multiple planes. Like you're just making copies of it. They're using the same tail number.
Yeah, the same tail number on two different choppers that are different in paint scheme and everything. So unless they were, repainted or something, it's two different choppers with the same tail number. But they were
but there was like a whole connection that Candace Owens was talking about with this Delaware warehouse at the hangar that was there for painting planes that the Egyptian planes keep going to. And they're saying like, oh yeah, we just get the plane painted every hour and a half, which clearly doesn't make sense. But then it really doesn't make sense when you find out that the paint company hasn't been there as long as these planes have been going to that hangar.
And by the way, this is happening in the trucking world right now. With with all the illegals that are being taken off the road, what they're doing is they're going in and getting rid of, or they'll have multiple MC numbers, is what they call it. Okay, motor carrier division numbers. So now they'll take off the old sticker and they'll put the new sticker on with the new MC number. So that's now happening, and so they're washing even MC numbers for these trucks.
I mean, that sucks. And like part of the solution would be some sort of like permanent fixed transponder, but then you're talking like Big Brother shit where they're following you everywhere you go. And if you just want to have a semi in your back 40 and live in it, then you shouldn't have to be tracked.
So most of these trucks that are being quote unquote taken off, or that are finding out, they're independent companies. They're not like your big trucks like England or CRST and so forth. These are the smaller companies that have 5 to 10 trucks. And so these other trucking companies now have they wash so they can get different names of their companies. Okay. So there was one that was caught that he was an Arab. Okay. And he had 10 different corporations. Okay. And every single time something would happen, the guys would be taken out of service. And all of a sudden, as soon as the cop would leave for taking him out of service, they'd sneakily put another MC number on the side of the truck.
That's kind of old business around, here. If you have a small business or something and you run it real poorly, you'll just run it into the ground, change the LLC and start up again and do the exact same thing you were doing. But yeah, the scrubbing the M dot numbers and the MC numbers is dangerous for everybody, because those trucks are extreme. Most people do not have an understanding for how dangerous those trucks are.
Yeah.
They will drive right over top of a Tahoe with no problem. Flatten it like a pancake. So you are not safe even in a big vehicle when it comes to those things. You'll be in a accordion, So to have these people who can't even speak English and can't read road signs or maps or anything, having them at the wheel is just crazy. And the rules over there are fucking loose as they'll drive a truck with no engine cover on it. The engine right next to them and the wheel underneath them.
I was in India. I was in Bangalore, India for a month last year in November, and the truckers out there. I don't know if you ever seen Indian, TV or whatever. They're insane. There's no rules of the road, and they're everywhere. It's always beep. So the truckers are the very same way. They'll do like what happened with that Indian guy in Florida. The guy all of a sudden decides to do a U-turn on the freeway. They do that shit in India.
I know. I got run off the road like a couple weekends ago, Paul. It was so stupid. I'm on a very wide 2-lane road. I think is Holt Road 2 lanes there? Anyway,
Yes.
And with a big center divider, and this truck decides to just come out of the driveway. Like there was nobody behind me for 100,000 miles. And he's in my lane coming at me head fucking on.
Right.
It's just some Middle Eastern guy. And he goes like this, like, thanks. Like,
Yeah.
fuck you. And like, I hit the curb. My car's all fucked now. Like, and like, he just kept going. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What was that? Head on. And he just like gives me this like, thanks for hitting the curb for me. Like, that doesn't even make sense, sir. Like, he wasn't concerned at all.
Yeah.
Rose to Solart says these reindeer games are exhausting and also vocally not concerned about Americans at the least. Yeah, it's terrible. So I want to go a little bit deeper down into this tracking stuff about these Egyptian planes and stuff. And I do want to touch on this Mitch Snow guy. Because I've just been thinking about it so much. One, I'm like jonesing for another Candace episode because I need to know where this goes. I need to flip to the end of the book and find out how the shit ends. And now like stuff has just gotten so nuts with everybody attacking each other and Alex Jones against Candace Owens and like everybody's against everybody. And like I hope everybody wants it's solved. At least the good guys want the good information out.
My 2 cents on this, Molly. So much of what we're seeing is such distraction because there's some other event that's going to take place the first quarter of this year. Okay. And I feel that.
Like another false flag or what?
Yes. Another FF, like a black swan type of event. And so because it's all over the board here. You know,
Christian bombing at Disney World or something, or Islamic attack at Disney World or something.
And this is what I've been trying to get out to all of my forums. Okay. The big black swan is going to be the modern day Battle of Tours. If people are not familiar with the Battle of Tours, Charles Martel in 600 AD fended off Islam in France and Italy so that they wouldn't come in and infiltrate that portion of Europe. And now we have been infiltrated on all aspects, every single state, okay, of Islam. And guess what happens? The 3 tenets of the Quran are convert, submit, or die. Okay. And that's all there is to it. And they'll lie, cheat, and steal because part of the Quran says that you can lie for the greater good. Okay. So the My Black Swan event situation, something's going to happen, whether it's in Texas at their new whatever place that was, or what's going on in Minnesota, what's going on in Michigan, Detroit. You know, this is happening all over. Okay. Yeah. And so when we hear the likes of Candace Owens going on and the Charlie Kirk, you know what? I know that those things are all important and there's some deep stuff and there are some deep people that are involved with that. And fortunately, those same people that are doing that are using these to distract from what's going on here because now they can. There's a reason why they picked Utah for the Charlie event to happen.
Why is that?
I think it's all to just keep us from talking about the ongoing wars in Ukraine and what's going on in Gaza and Palestine and everything, because you know
they want to distract.
They don't want us talking about that, so anything else will do. And so bring out the thing, let's sacrifice one of our own, or maybe they didn't even, maybe it was all just for show, just to get people agitated, just to get people at each other, because it really did kind of have that effect. It was almost, I hate to be a comparison, but it was almost a George Floyd thing on the right, where the right definitely felt attacked because Charlie was killed or allegedly killed.
Well, the reason why it hit us so hard was he was a voice of the alt-right, if you want to call it, because we were not being heard. The great thing with what Charlie was doing was he was allowing people to speak, regardless of what their situation was, regardless of who they were. He would allow them to speak, and that resonates with people.
Well, I've seen a few debates where he didn't really address the question. He kind of obfuscated and
Right.
redirected and didn't
Correct.
want to answer that question. So, I mean, yes, he was absolutely one of those that would give you a mic and let you say stuff, but there were times when he would, not address the question like a politician might, and
Yes.
change subjects and answer a question he would rather answer rather than the one you asked him. But yeah, he was just to kind of put that out. He was a good debate person, but I don't, he was human too. So
right. And I went to UVU a few days after all that happened, and they had already completely re-landscaped over all that area. They took down all the cameras that had been put in there previously, by the way.
That's a sure sign of a false flag right there.
Yeah. And so all that was
and
taken
even
down.
those text messages came out where they were shopping around for them to do that.
The landscape company.
Sure.
Now the landscape company doesn't even exist anymore. So and that's a whole nother story too. Yes.
Okay. So then
and then of course the airplane that was coming out of Provo into Arizona, DePage, Arizona. And by the way, that interview I did this morning for that lady in England, this is what she's focusing on. And she may also know about this Mitch Snow, and I'll talk to her later on about that. I'll send you her link on Instagram because she's pretty high up in there. Anyway, what I'm saying is we see all these things now taking place. We hear the Alex Jones situation. We hear the Candace situation. And Candace is, the problem I have with the recent Candace situation was when she interviewed Erica Kirk. Okay, when the two got together. So here's the thing. And, Molly, you and I are very similar when it comes down to, guess what? If we're going to be in the same room with somebody we have massive disagreements with, guess what? We're going to voice them. We're not kid gloves. I don't believe.
Oh yeah, Candace isn't shy.
Right.
And however Erica feels about her, she really is fighting for her friend. I mean, it's like my best friend Randy and I, like, there's nothing that I wouldn't do if something bad happened to him. I mean, he already went through shit, and I was there for him, and at my own risk of my paycheck. Yeah. And so I understand that kind of loyalty. I also understand the dynamic of that like cunty cattiness between women. And Candace has said a couple of things where she's like, basically alluding to, well, not alluding to, but just very thinly veiled, like, sweetie, you weren't the only one. He had a bunch of people that he was interested in before you. I helped him go on many dates. I remember when he met you. Basically that whole, we were friends before you, we're going to be friends after you. Although,
in Erica Kirk in her previous life,
damn it.
that's the big one. That's the big one. The Erica Francie, the Erica, whatever that name was before. And all of a sudden that guy disappears. And, guess what? She has a child from another marriage.
Yeah, that's wild. And so they're not really, I haven't seen that rabbit hole get fully flushed out yet.
Right.
But I did see the video of her with the guy at the Trump rally with the little girl in between them holding the sign.
Yes.
And this is all allegedly. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't sue me. I don't even have enough to pay for my breaks, so you can all fuck off. But so, okay, so then this Mitch Snow guy comes in. Mm-hmm. And Chris, do you want to? I
just wanted to put that in there. I was trying to add it as a comment, but the link didn't work as a comment, so I wanted to be in the chat to be able to do that. It's not. It's just that thing I was talking about earlier. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I would have added it. No, I was just going to say.
If you want to look at it, I can bring it up again. But it's just.
Do you want to brief who Mitch Snow is?
Me?
Or yes. No? Okay. Anyway,
I only know that Candace interviewed him, so I can say before you get to whatever it was you were going to say about it, I got to say, while I believe some of the information that he was giving Candace was genuine and correct, I don't trust that guy for a second. I don't know what it is about him. I never liked him. He seemed like he was just sort of somebody who knew stuff, but was lying about his connections and involvements. I'm not quite sure how he came by the information, but I don't believe his story. I'm not saying the information is bad. I'm just saying I don't believe Mitch.
And that's definitely what I want to talk about. So he was a guy, Paul, that Molly can play Erica in the documentary Say No with blazing eyes like she did Molly, please. Oh, wait, no, it was Stop. Okay, Rose Thistle, this is for you. Jesus, fuck. Stop. It's not good. Okay, so I forgive him. Okay, now we're done.
Yes.
So
I was, yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wanted to just.
That was more convincing than her there, Molly. I gotta say.
Thanks. I did a Barbie commercial in 1984, so I'm professional. Actually, Rose Thistle, I was actually thinking of cutting my hair off just because of that. Not that anybody would confuse me with her, I don't think, but I was thinking of cutting my hair off because I was like, oh yeah, maybe not. Maybe shave my head and dye it blue and just become a leftist. I'm not that black pilled yet. Okay, so this guy, Mitch. Okay, so Paul, going back 25 years, I guess, this guy, Mitch Snow, this is all nebulous. This is based off of me watching Candace Owens weeks ago, so I'm just giving you what's still in my brain. He was in, I believe it was the Army, and he was in charge of the technology to be able to implant ground penetrating radar or whatever to make those stations.
Okay. Yeah. Now you're speaking my language.
Okay. So in that, he also had to do a lot of testing of this new technology that was down there. So he's a tech guy, he's cutting edge computer shit, and he was helping another branch of the military or however it worked, somebody not in his unit, to troubleshoot these plates or sensors or whatever they are. And through that, through his official job in the military and helping to troubleshoot these sensors, they discovered that there were all these anomalies. And as the investigation continued, they found large-scale tunnel system into Mexico that was transporting a ton of fucking drugs. Mm-hmm. And as they went in that tunnel to the Mexican side, I believe there were pictures on the Mexican side of that secret room in fucking Mexico with our U.S. fucking brass in the military standing there, shaking hands, kissing babies, like we are working together. The U.S. and Mexico are working together to traffic a bunch of drugs to kill.
Yeah, the CIA is the biggest trafficker of drugs there ever was.
plus, not just drugs either, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the other thing,
that's my other side of my life. Sorry, but yes.
And
who's ever seen American Made and then understands the backstory of American Made, that's exactly it.
So he was a part of that process.
Right.
And through that, they fucked him over as if he was some kind of bad guy, whistleblower, threatening the cartel. And so then his private information somehow got leaked to the cartel. He had to change his identity. He's been on the run. His house has been broken into. His family has been terrorized. And he was put under a gag order by our government, by the United States, put him on a 25-year gag order that he could not talk about the drugs being smuggled with the help of our own government. Okay, so that's who Mitch is. Now, you're also going to hear that Mitch was a wife beater. Mitch fucking stomped on an ant. Mitch got bad grades in third grade. You're also going to hear a bunch of bad shit about Mitch. But this is why Mitch says to Candace Owens, when the 25-year gag order was over, I decided to go down to Fort Huachuca to go get a copy of my police reports and all the reports from way back then, because I want to find out how my information got leaked, what information is in those reports, who was, on my case, why has my family been terrorized for 25 years? I want my report. So I go down and I stay off base at Candlewood Suites, which is a very common place. It's right outside the base for people to stay in. It used to be the barracks, and he's staying there. And Rose Thistle, she says, bingo, that was it. Tell me if I get any of this wrong, because I know you watched it as much as I did. But he's staying there, and he, for one, after he checks in, he goes and hangs out in the lobby to just like see what's there and what's going on. And he's just like back in his own stomping grounds. I don't know where he's living now, but it's not anywhere in that state, I believe. And so at that point, he sees someone he later identifies as Erica Kirk. And then a specific named, I think, congressman it was, and a bunch of military brass. And he sees them that night, Erica Kirk and the congressman, I think it was. And then the next morning sees all these military brass and the congressman and stuff. Like there's a big meeting. And so he goes to bed that night, and he doesn't really know who Erica Kirk is. It doesn't really like ring a bell with him. Obviously, Charlie Kirk. This is the day before Charlie Kirk was killed.
Right.
The night before. The day before. And so then the next morning, there's a big meeting, and he can tell because he was military. He knows, like, looking at you, oh, you probably are this and you're probably that, and the rank system and how they walk out and the cars that they use and all this stuff. Like, he's seen it before. And so he's like, well, I saw this and I was like, something's going on. Now, at that point, they usher him away from the building. Oh, he asked some guys, hey, I'm just trying to get a copy of my report. And they're like, report? Oh, that's the super secret building right over there. And so he goes to the super secret building, and it's not marked, and there's barbed wire, but there's not really a gate. And so he's like, am I allowed to go here? Am I not allowed to go here? Like, I showed my, credentials at the guard gate to the base, but this is like off base, I guess. And so he goes to this like super secret lair, and they all of a sudden like kind of like usher him to the side, and they're kind of swarming him, and everybody's talking to him, and they're like making it a bigger fucking deal. Like, why are you here? What's going on? And he's like, well, I just want to get a copy of my report. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. You have 25-year-old, situation. Look, I was only LAPD, and then I worked for another police agency that was a sack of shit. But if you wanted a 25-year-old police report and you just walked into my station and you're like, hi, my name's Joe Blow, like, I'd be like, and like, it's not just like here in my fingertips. Like, that shit's archived. We've had different, filing systems since then. That shit went downtown. So that's the first part that started to like, I don't think so. Because you would call ahead. Hey, I want to get a copy of my report. I want to pick up a physical copy. Can I come on Friday? I love your dog.
He's black lab. Sorry.
I love black labs. And so that didn't make sense that he didn't call ahead for his report, that he just showed up for it and expected like immediately satisfaction. Then he says that they start talking to him, and there is a police report that corroborates this. That they detained him. I guess they made a big thing about it, and we're like, oh, well, then you seem suspicious, and we need to check your car for bombs and all this stuff. And he's like, dude, I'm not doing anything. Like, I told you, I just showed up, and I just want to get a copy of my reports. Like, why are you guys like blocking me so I can't see who is all coming out of this super important meeting right now? And so who knows who was in the meeting? They did, show him some names, and Candace showed him some pictures, and he picked some people, and who knows, and Candace is now expecting alibis. But here's the thing that I want to say. And
is he still alive today?
Mitch, yeah. He was just talked to, as far as I know,
he's not suicidal.
I don't think so. There's actually a sign on the door that says super secret building. I believe so, Red Bike. Or he wanted to surprise him, so he didn't hide his records and give him the runaround. Okay, I agree with you, Rose Thistle. That could very well be, but it's been 25 years. If they were going to shred that shit, it would have happened. Right. Now, here's what I don't believe, and this is what I haven't seen anybody talk about. He says, on this particular date and time, what had happened was I just happened to run into the super secret fucking meeting. And I happened to go to the same fucking place as them. And I happened to just decide after checking in and getting all the way down there that I would just go hang out in the lobby and see what's going on. Like, I've never hung out in the lobby. I mean, unless you're looking for a prostitute, but I think this guy is married. So let's maybe take that off the table. Why would he just be deciding to like go hang out in the lobby and see who comes and goes? That didn't make any sense to me. Then he says that in the morning, he wanted to see the sunrise and he wanted to just go outside and see the sunrise. Now, there are people that could very well be like that. I'm not particularly one of them. If I got somewhere to be, cool, but I'm not just let's see the sunrise kind of person. If you're military, maybe you're used to waking up early, but it's been 25 years since he's been separated. So I feel like his rhythm has maybe gotten back to human. But what I can tell you is that if you thought that something was going on, you know damn well that those meetings start early in the morning, just like LAPD roll call does. And you want to be in that lobby or at that super secret squirrel place. And you want to be there at the exact time that you think you have the most ability for shit to be going down.
Right.
Now, whistleblowers help each other out like all the time. And this guy was sort of like high-ranking military. And he knew a lot of people from back in the day. He got really fucked over by his government. He's probably been bitching about it for 25 years, even though there was a gag order. And he probably has maintained some friends that have grown within the organization. Now, I just know from where I was during COVID, and it's a long story, but I was a bit of a whistleblower because we were turning in reports, thousands of reports that were caused by COVID-19 for the CARES Act, I believe.
Yep.
I don't know why these reports said that they were caused by COVID-19, but they were stuck elevators, car crashes, smoke alarms in the middle of the night in a totally empty business building, thousands of these reports that were caused by COVID-19. And my city that I work for, we did get a lot of money. I get called in to the mayor's office and they want to know, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you flapping your gums about this shit? And I was just very plain about it, just like I am right now. I don't know. That's my question. Why do these reports say this? How come sometimes they say no? How come sometimes they say maybe? How come sometimes they say yes? How could a car accident be caused by? And I'm not talking about any medical. If you had COVID so bad it caused you to go into labor, or you were coughing so bad it caused you to break your ankle, I don't give a shit. It's all HIPAA protected, right to know, need to know. I'm only talking about fires, stuck elevators, car crashes, and stuff that was in my right to know, need to know.
Right.
And so I brought the mayor a lot of reports, a big old stack from just the month before. And I said, I can go way back if you're interested in, but like, this is what I wonder, like, why is this? Why are we saying that these things are caused by COVID-19? Because at the time, like, they wouldn't accept my medical exemption and like my religious exemption and like all this stuff. And we were losing good firefighters. They were sending good guys home that were not sick because they stood next to a guy that was allowed to come to work sick because he got jabbed and he's sick, but it's a good sick. So he's allowed to be here, but you're not sick. So you need to go home. Like, it was just crazy. There was a lot of crazy. But what I can say is that in this whole witch hunt of all this shit, and I was just like, I was fresh, brand new to this fire department. I was no one. I'm still no one. And there was a lot of help to me that people were coming to me going like, did you know about this? Did you know about that? Here's a copy of this. Here's that. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? And so I am super low level. The cartel isn't looking for me for the information that I know. But I had other people that were willing to help a whistleblower in giving me the information I needed to help all of the firefighters that did not want to take the jab. And there were meetings that were had, and there was just a lot of worry. I mean, you've got really good guys at work that had been there, almost 20 years that were going to be fired unless they took the cootie shot that has been killing all the people that have been riding in our ambulances. Like, it was a really scary, scary, scary time for first responders. And it goes super deep, but there were placebos, and there was all kinds of bullshit that we knew about. And it's like, well, if you know that there's placebos, why are you making me take it? And like just all this stuff that was going on.
Well, you heard what happened in Utah with the doctor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But he was just writing like fake cards and not injecting.
No, he was given saline.
Oh, he was actually giving saline. So, but those patients knew that they were getting saline, I believe.
Right.
And so our firefighters did not know that they were given saline, and they did not know that until we did our own in-house antibody testing. This is probably where I'm going to lose my job. But at any rate, I say that to say, and no harm, no foul. Everything's good now. The guys that wanted to leave the department left the department anyway.
Right.
The other good guys stayed. Everything pretty much healed. That the witch hunt of people that were yelling at us and coughing on us, trying to get us sick, like that's all mellowed out. Those guys are still.
It just blows me away.
Yeah, it got really dark. It honestly did, Paul. But so I just want to talk about that whistleblower sort of phenomenon where we're all kind of helping each other. What?
Said fear is a good motivator. It's
and I mean, and they were afraid, and God bless them for being the first in line for something totally experimental that they didn't know what was going to happen to them. Like they have a lot more balls than I do. That I was like, I don't know about that. Who's paying my assumption of liability and driving me to work and like typing for me when I'm a fucking invalid? Because nobody's paying my bills over here. But so
I have an aspect
this guy. Okay, I just want to get to the Mitch Snow part. So if Mitch Snow is this whistleblower and he hates the government with everything, they've made him move, they gave out his information, they've made his family go on the run, they have rat fucked him every single way, and he wasn't the bad guy. He didn't build the tunnels, he didn't move the cocaine, he wasn't a whistleblower, he was just putting in ground radar sensors or whatever the hell he was working on as a tech guy. Then don't you think that it's possible that there is some whistleblower that got in his ear and said, bro, get down there, because there's shit that's going to happen, because it's very convenient that he all of a sudden just like stumbled into two like major U.S. conspiracies, just stumbled into both of them. Now, Candace did a lot of vetting, and she said, yes, based off the metadata, he took a selfie at dawn. Okay, maybe that's what people do. Cool. Now, here's another like point of bullshit that I was like, nope, this is where I'm out. He was asking somebody for directions to the super secret squirrel lair, and he accidentally filmed 18 minutes of him asking for it. Now he is presenting this information, that this video, to Candace Owens to say, look, see, I was there for this totally legitimate reason. I accidentally finger fucked my phone and took an 18-minute video substantiating that I was there for this totally legitimate reason. But he's a tech guy, and he's treating his phone like my 91-year-old dad. Like, I don't know about that. And so I guess I haven't heard anybody say it, but I just feel like he wasn't there accidentally. And I worry for him, and I worry for Candace, because whether or not there's where there's smoke, there's fire. I just feel like they're kicking hornets' nests that are going to make a lot of problems for a long time. What did you want to say, Chris?
It was a fleeting thought. It seemed like it was something.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So let me check with some of my friends about Mitch and see what they know about him.
I mean, listen, if he was a total wife-beating piece of shit, murderer, like I was a cop for a long time, like bad guys see crimes too. I have to pull bad guys in because they saw a car accident that had nothing to do with them. So I'm not going to get, clutching my pearls in horror over like a bad guy was there at the right time, at the right place at all. And the mudslinging part of it just makes me feel like, what would you care? Like if like Satan himself got us information about something that we need to know about, like what does it matter?
So was this in Arizona or in San Diego?
Fort Huachuca is in Arizona or New Mexico. Arizona, I believe.
Okay.
If a liar tells you the sky is blue, is it any less blue?
I mean, but that could be like blue for me, could be like orange to you. We just have no idea. Until you let me borrow your eyeballs. This is how like an objective fact gather I am. I don't know.
Like I said at the beginning, I think he was probably had some truthful information, but the whole circumstances and everything surrounding his being there doesn't make a damn bit of sense. I'm not a coincidence theorist. I don't believe you can have coincidence stacked on coincidence stacked on coincidence. You being goofy with the phone and making sure to take a selfie, all this, well, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, all this stuff can be fake now anyway. So it
can be fake, but it also like, you know, that's part of the vetting that everybody has said, and that's from Ian Carroll to Candace Owens. Like, yeah, but I mean, he took all these pictures and he took all these videos and he did all this stuff before Charlie was even killed, so that makes it legitimate. But what might not make it legitimate is that he might have gotten a little tip from a little birdie to be there, to be able to finally maybe get one over on the U.S. government for plotting something fucking big. Because we know if this thing was a conspiracy and they're having meetings with Brass and the wife and the governor or congressman or whatever the hell he was, and all of this stuff is in play, and then you have to have all these people in on it, and the landscaper has to come in, and the guy who took the video down, and the drone guy, and this, and
I wouldn't doubt that these intelligence agencies have infighting, and they're doing things, and like the politicians do when they come out and tell you truth about each other, and they say they're coming out and snitching on each other. They're telling the truth. It's just hard to believe, because it seems so far fetched.
I mean, even just look at the rivalry between like Army and Marines, and like God forbid you say they were the Coast Guard. Right. I mean, they all have infighting. I mean, I was a city cop, but then you talk about us versus the sheriffs versus Beverly Hills police that don't really work for a living versus the firefighters that get paid to nap and make an omelet for 50. And like, there's always these kind of rivalries. And I don't know. I just think that maybe there was somebody that tipped him off. It just seems a little bit too coincidental for me.
Well, that Katie Hobbs of Arizona, the governor of Arizona, is in deep with the cartel. Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff that's been passing around about that. I haven't really looked into that very much, but
so,
the cartel is run by the CIA, isn't it? Pretty much.
That's
how they're allowed to operate.
That's how the whole Falklands, that's how the whole Nicaragua situation happened with Barry Seal. That's how Barry Seal ended up dead. And all I'm saying is it's become a situation where with what we don't know is exactly what they don't want us to know. And we're finding out from inside whistleblowers that yes, these people are connected with the cartel and they work with them and they do all these things and they get paid off. We know that Gloria Steinbaum was a plant. She's a Mexican Jew. All this other crap. And I've talked to plenty that are from Mexico and South America, and they hated Gloria Steinbaum. Okay, obviously
Mexico's been run by outsiders for a long time, though. Really,
right? Exactly.
It's not been a native Mexican actually running that.
No. South America has been controlled from Europe.
Well, so we are too. The United States is too. I wouldn't say our leadership exists in Washington D.C. I think it's a little further away.
Right. Exactly. But there's so much to it. I mean,
I know what you're talking about, sir.
Yes, you do. So when it comes down to, let's say, for example, Utah and Idaho, both our governorships were paid off by the Chinese Communist Party to the tune of over $100 billion. Okay.
Well, so we were all under the reign of the WHO and the Communist Party, and Bill Gates are the number 1, 2 donors to that. So they were in charge of that. They were in charge of COVID. That's why I try to tell people, like, don't get mad at who the president is. Don't hate your neighbor because of who the president is, because in the end, it doesn't fucking matter. As Gretchen Whitmer, our governor here, told us, she can't do anything until the health board says it's okay. She can't lift any restrictions until the health board says it's okay. And the health board says, well, we can't lift any restrictions until the CDC says it's okay. And the CDC says, well, we can't lift any restrictions until the WHO says. So fuck everybody in between me and Tedros Ghebreyesus. He's running shit. You know,
yes.
Forget about anybody we elected or anything else. He's in charge, not anybody, you know.
Yeah, so when you guys are talking about Mitch Snow, it reminded me of one of my contacts who used to live in Tampa Bay, Florida, and he got expatriated to Honduras because he was a modern-day Jason Bourne. And so every single time he would try to come back to America to take care of some family situation or his land and his house and so forth in Florida, he would get stuck in Tampa Bay Airport for 8 hours being interrogated by the CIA because the government taught him to do certain things, and he became a whistleblower, and now he does certain things, and he's kind of under the network. And so him and I contact each other every so often, and he'll say, okay, this is going down, be mindful of this from South America. But when you talk about Mitch Snow, these guys that were in the know in the military, and it blows me away, some of these guys that are out there that do these certain operations. And I can't say too much, but they know so much. And unfortunately, the CIA is so deep that they could be offed at any time. And that, it doesn't matter. And so this guy that's expatriated to Honduras, he now has his own security detail. Even though he's former Green Beret, he now has to live on a compound.
Yeah.
And he's hired his own security.
And maybe that's why Mitch was just like Rose Lasar is saying, like, okay, going on Candace Owens is a way to try to preserve his life. But also in a way, like, he kind of had his life taken away from him, 25 years of his life where he's been on the run and having to hide and afraid of his government. And maybe now was his chance to just be like, oh, yeah, well, fuck you.
Right.
So, we don't know. I'm really excited for more information to come out. I don't worry too much about Candace talking to Erica Kirk. I think it just needed to happen because it was turning into like a cunt fight instead of just like, hey, look, these facts are objective. And maybe you don't care that you were followed 68 times by planes owned by Egypt. But to me, if I had the same Egyptian guy in the line behind me at the grocery store, I would feel a little bit like, what the fuck is going on? If you're not worried about it, cool. But I still want to look into it. If it doesn't concern you, cool. Maybe, he really likes somebody else in your entourage. Who knows? But coincidence? I don't think so. So I'm really excited to look more into it. And I'm so glad that you were here, Paul. You're such a wealth of information.
So I'm gonna let you down one more rabbit hole.
Okay.
There's a reason why things happen here in Utah. Okay. And I'm in the construction industry, and I happened to do this job a number of years ago for this gentleman who speaks perfect English. You'd never even know that he was from somewhere else. He's a white guy, everything else. Walking down the street, you'd think, oh, he's just a regular American old dude. Come to find out, he's an IDF soldier living in Salt Lake County here. And he says to me while we're working, and I didn't put it all together until this whole situation went down with Charlie. There is a cell of IDF soldiers that live in Salt Lake County. Why do we have IDF soldiers living in Salt Lake County?
Well, I told you.
I worked with an IDF soldier at a beauty supply in Beverly Hills. They're just everywhere.
So what the heck is so special? But here's the problem. We have different mafia, cartel, sleeper cells. I can name off 4 or 5 right now that, Harry Reid's organization, even though Harry Reid's dead, still controls a lot of Utah. I mean, it's so weird. Yeah,
it is just a big circle jerk. I mean, it's a big party, and you're not in it.
Well, before we sign off, I did want to say something about Rose Lissel's comments here about Switzerland. And I have always said that Europe burned through 2 world wars with one exception, and that was Switzerland. And there has to be a good reason for that.
Correct.
So we've all been misplayed. We've all been told, here's the bad guy, but most of us are not looking in the right spot.
Why was Switzerland always neutral?
That's anti-religious to a particular group, and I assure you, I am not hateful of any particular group. I hate them all, actually. So, but they're all all the ethnic or Arabic. What am I trying to say? The Abrahamic traditions are all pretty much the same to me. So Christianity.
Well, I mean, when I went down this rabbit hole here in Utah, okay, and I found out about that Salt Lake in 2010, Utah signed, our former governor Gary Herbert signed up Utah for the United Nations Charter membership, and at the same time, so did the LDS Church. So when they did that, they also became part of what they call the One World Religion. You guys know what the One World Religion is?
Yes, I think that's a whole show in and of itself.
Astronomy. It's astronomy, I assure you.
So, but what's interesting is when you go through all those, there are, and I don't want you to get taken off of your platform, but when you know certain symbolism, you start seeing it pop up. Yeah. And so the three main organizations are Catholicism, LDS, and Islam. That's why they called it Chrislam, and that's why the campus is already in Dubai. So anyway,
that sounds like a rabbit hole for another time. Paul, we usually try to keep it to 2 hours, so we're keeping everybody from their pillows. I really hope that you come back on, though. You're fascinating, and I think that you and Chris can take me down rabbit holes I never knew existed. So
let's go, Chris.
Thank you so much, you guys, and thank you, chat. If you guys wouldn't mind, give a little like so that you can show Paul Revere some love, and hopefully we'll see him another time.
Chemtrails are the great equalizer. Christian, Muslim, Jew, doesn't matter. Spraying us all.
That's right.
So, they're real.
They're awesome. Let's do this 3 again. This was a good fit.
Okay, yeah, we will. I will talk. I will see you on Facebook. And oh my God, I got into such a cunt war with some total idiot, and so I think that we might do a little. I might share it. Maybe I'll share it next week. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. And let's see if the outro plays.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only